Hello folks, this is Steve, AB4EL. Oh, what's going on here? Well, I just came down to see the deep river, but something's happening. More orange signs over there. Shall we find out what it is? This is Cedar Falls. That's the old Cedar Falls post office there to the right. This is road closed ahead. Use a detour. Road closed to through traffic. So how come they let me through? That's the museum. This is part of the project owned by a guy in Franklinville. Road ahead. Road closed 1,000 feet ahead. So if there are people living down this far, they have to let them in, right? Let's go as far as the road closed 500 feet from here. Now, I'm not going to go through. We can see there's a digger there. And I can tell you what's just up ahead. I don't know if it has to do with why the road is closed, but I'm looking at the road surface here. I'm looking at the digger. Just beyond where that big shovel is where, now to the left, let me back down. All right, now, you see this abandoned building here? If you were to go down behind it, it's what I call the sluiceway for the deep river. To the left, diagonally to the left, is the deep river in a part where there was a rapid descent in elevation, highly eroded in the riverbed, big boulders. My good twin did a lot of videos there, and it's just a little further beyond that digger is where to the left was the dam, and then across under the road was the sluiceway, raceway, water. I got to do this right. To power the mill. Somebody's working on his vehicle. See it? That's his hobby, that's his little business. Hang on. Hang on a second. I got my brake set. Excuse me, are they working on the waterway that crossed under the highway? Is that what that is? They're working on the cover? Okay, I got it. Let me make sure I'm still recording. Yep. Okay. As I said, just up past the digger, to the left was where the dam still is. For the sluiceway, see the deep river went on the other side to the right of us, Cedar Falls Island. But on this side was a narrower channel just behind these houses. Up at the top was way back when they were doing a grist mill. It was a convenient place to dig and side channel the water to come down to the left behind these mill buildings. He said that the culvert under the road started to collapse about 3 weeks ago. So I guessed correctly. I surmised correctly. Now these are new buildings. But if you look at the one that's nearest the road versus the face of the one to the far left, you can see the ones that were back further were older mills. This all started around 1840. And now let's go down here, as I'll remind you. Right down there, about 60 feet, is the deep river. And immediately to the left of what we're looking at is where the main river came by further over, and that what I called sluiceway, smaller one, that formed Cedar Falls Island, that is the thing that was behind that guy's house, joined it. Now, back when this all started, and we're talking about around 1840 or a little bit earlier, there was a grist mill here. What's a grist mill? Farmers need to grind their corn and wheat into animal feed and flour. I used to think that this building to the right here, immediately behind the sign, was the oldest mill, but I have it wrong. If you look straight ahead, you see where that truck is? Now look above it, the aluminum, the roof, and then you see a parapet there, and if you look at the building here, the back half was the original old textile mill. And the paddle wheel, which I understand is still back there, up the hill where we were, the water was channeled across the road under it and down a channel behind the building to run the paddle wheel, and then it emerged here and crossed the road in this area right here. There was a deep gully, and it joined the river looking more or less in that direction there. Now there's a big culvert under here, and this has all been built up subsequently, not in 1840, so they had to build a bridge there over it. Okay? So, as does happen with aging, now we're going to go, now this is the modern Deep River Bridge, but to the right, long ago I showed you to the right over there, to the right in the woods, about 40 feet over is still the rock pile ramp pier for this end of the covered bridge that went across parallel to that gully emptying into the deep river, so that people here could get down there to the little community and shops down there and the work. in the factory. Now you saw the size of those buildings, that it all started out with something smaller, a grist mill. Then somebody said, we want to do a textile mill, and we need a water power source, and we're going to buy your grist mill, and we're going to take advantage and build a bigger dam, and we're going to have more water flowing down, and we're going to have a bigger paddle wheel, and we're going to run an axle into the building, and we're going to have belts to pulleys to power the machines, the looms, the looms, and the weavers, and all that stuff. And that was the beginning of American large-scale manufacturing, where it went beyond what could be handled by a family. And I can tell you that in here and then down in Franklinville, which is a couple miles down along the river, it employed kids and women, because it was farms, and the men mostly at first were still doing the farming, but this was extra income for the family. Got it? Now why am I even thinking about this? Well, I was watching a essay video before I got in the car and came out for a ride, and the uneducated economist, I think that's what he calls himself, and he was saying, well, if manufacturing is going to come back to our shores, what's it going to look like? Because he said the government statistics on it now are that it's mostly, what exists in the United States is mostly small operations, not big mills. Not big mills like the one I showed you that got built up during the Civil War. Because that mill down there supplied a lot of the cloth for Confederate Army uniforms. But it started out as a grist mill, and then they needed to make a textile mill, and they did it here, and they did it in Worthville, and they did it in Franklinville, and they did it down in Ramseur. And then through the modern times, those things expanded, then finally contracted and collapsed with where the manufacturing in the world went offshore from us. So if there's going to be a resurgence because of, let's say, tariffs, where's it going to get done? By what kind of people? And even if it's the small household items like we're currently importing 90% from China, is it going to be big mills like the ones we saw down there in Cedar Falls? Or is it going to be smaller operations in garages? What do you think? Now, why would I propose it that way? He did. Why do I think it could be smaller shops? Think about it. I'll give you a clue. Machine technology advances plus computer aid. And with that, waiting for the green to come. Come on, green. Steve AB4L, just an idiot running his mouth, saying see you in 73.